Hello, 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 everybody. I hope you are having a fabulous Monday. It is kind of overcast here, but it's not too cold. And I just got back from Florida, so I was really kind of loving that warm weather. So I am like loving the sun, that the fact that it stays light out later. I am such a sun person, it's crazy. So if you're just joining, make sure you drop it in the comments, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Drop it in the comments where you're joining from. I love to see where everybody is from and how far of a reach I actually have. So we are still here in Design March. And give me a thumbs up or a heck yeah in the comments if you are enjoying these videos. So it is really the comment that I hear the most from students. They know how to do feathers or cross hatching and ruler work and ferns and motifs and all of that. But when they get a quilt in front of them, they're actually kind of a little paralyzed and unsure of the best way to go about quilting it, even though they know all of these things. It's like you get analysis paralysis. It's like, where do I start? What do I do? So that's kind of the thing that I hear the most. And so I love doing these types of videos because this is kind of my jam. I love doing the design work. I'm not the world's best piecer, so I get to work on everybody's quilts that they send me pictures of, and I kind of feel like I pieced it and I quilted it and I'm good to go. So we're going to jump in here to Jeannie's, but if you're wondering what this is over here, the Design Decision Dilemma, this is a monthly membership. It is $9 a month, and every week you get one of these videos. These quilts that I'm showing to you now were last year's quilts. And I'm just doing some simple design work on them. So that is the monthly membership. If that's something that you're interested in, you can just go to designdecisiondilemma.com and check it out. Or you can feel free to email me any questions that you might have. So, oh, good. Hi, Carol. How are you? Oh, thanks, Teresa. Teresa says she loves the videos. So we always love to hear like all of that positive stuff. So I'm going to jump in. We're going to be designing for this quilt. Jeannie McNeil sent this in last year, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So here we are. Let me know if you guys can't hear me or see me. This is going to be the first time that it is going live to Instagram as well. So this is something that's new. So if it's not quite going through the way it should, I apologize, but we are also on Facebook and YouTube live. So let's look at this particular quilt. And there's a couple different ways, and I think I mentioned this last time, but we piece together our blocks, right? So that is the block. Let me make it a little darker. So that's the block, right? But when I look at a quilt, I try to look at the whole quilt in its entirety. And then I try to see where my eye kind of gravitates to first, right? So you have this area here, and then you have, I'm going to do it in black. So let me just change that. So you have this area here, and then you have this area here, right? It's nice open space that you know the quilting is going to be something that shows. But I also just kind of want to have you look at something that my eye goes to is actually this entire piece here, right? So I want to look at that and see, is there some way that you can quilt that where it works and comes together here kind of seamlessly? So let's just kind of see if we can't do that. I don't know if it's going to work because, again, like I did this quilt a while ago, I don't even remember how I quilted it. So it will be interesting to see. So as I look at this, I see this kind of flowery shape, which I really like. And I do love inserting kind of circles behind. So this is how I would kind of go about it. Like if I wanted a circle here, right? I'm just going to draw my circle. And I'm going to go smaller. And I'm just going to see if I can move it. So it's hard because the quilt is kind of laying down when the picture was taken. When I do a circle like that, I'm actually, when I go to quilt it, not going to quilt through this piecing here, right? Oops, it's too big. I'm not going to quilt through this piecing. So let me go back, get rid of that. So we're going to take that out. So yes, it would be stopping and starting, but I do like the way that looks. And then I do like to echo. So I'm going to echo these. Now I have to remember that that same thing is going to be happening over here, right? And then here as well. Okay. So I have to make sure that it's going to look okay. And that's why I do tend to try and draw a lot of it out. Now, I don't know if that's going to work because my initial instinct is to come and put feathers on these as if it were, right? As if it were a wreath going around. But what happens is then it's going to kind of get crowded in there. So I don't know if that's going to actually look decent. And I think what I probably should do, let's see. Let's go along with this and see if we can get it to look okay. Let me put that there. So we've got that, and then maybe you can do like a little circle in here. And then you have this white space that, let's see, we could do. I'm not sure I'm liking this too much. I think it's not going to really work because I don't love this part. So you can leave it in the comments what you're thinking. If you're like, oh, Lisa, you are so on the wrong track. What are you doing? Or if you're like, that may have potential. But I'm thinking that it probably doesn't because I personally don't like how it comes together when it's all four. So that's what's bothering me. So I think what we're going to do is I'll add a different layer and take that out. So that's kind of bothering me. So I'm like not really loving that. So next thing is I would come and I would focus on this area and this area since that's really what's going to be seen. So I'm going to go there and see what we can come up with. Now, you, of course, could come in and do a wreath. And of course, that's going to look good. You also have to think, what is the end use of this quilt? Am I going to be curling up under it? Do I want to spend a lot of time on it? Are we just going to do simple custom? Or do we want to go, excuse me, all out with it? Right? So, and then here, you can use this as a spine. The reason it's pixelated is because the picture wasn't a high enough resolution, so I apologize. go back down. So we could do that. That's always an option. What if we, horror upon horrors, don't like feathers? You can also do some ferns. It's a good thing you guys can't see right now because my kitty cat is trying to jump up on to the tablet. So you can do ferns, right? Something like that. Another option that you could do, and let's say we've already got, I'm gonna just pop a layer in here, right? So we already have the piecing right here, right? So we could also come in and use the piecing here for a spine. Something like this. Right? That might work. And then we'll just go and take that out. So you could do something like that, and that would go all the way around. So the other, we could do, I love the molar feather. So you could do that. And that would look really pretty. Right? Something like that. You can come in and do stems in there. So you could do something like that. That looks pretty as well. Teresa, you really like the ferns. Yes, yes. So yeah, there's so many options to do. You could also just really kind of, let's say we can do some curved cross hatching in here. Right? And you know what I say about curved cross hatching, you really have to make sure that there's enough curve that it looks like curved cross hatching and doesn't look like straight cross hatching. You can even do that and then do feathers in here, right? Something like that. That would look really pretty. I don't know. It's hard for me to do the cross hatching in this area just because it's such a great showcase area, right? It's just, yeah, you could really showcase some quilting in that area. So I'm probably not going to do that. You could also, let's look at, you can do 1, 2, right? So you do, it works in 3s, and I would do 2 small. Of course, they're not really the same size right now, but I love how that looks. So you can do something like that. When we come to like the actual piecing component, I'm trying to move it here. This right here, all of this would be ditched. I would definitely be stitching in the ditch. And then you could do continuous curve in there, right? That would make it really easy. For those of you that don't know what continuous curves is, that would be something like this. Oh, you're not going to be able to see it. That would be something that goes like this, right? Continuous curves. Okay. So you could do something like that in there. You could also just come in and outline quilt it like this to give some definition. It really, I mean, honestly depends how heavily quilted you want to quilt things, right? So your circles in here, right? Those circles in there are fine if you don't quilt around them, right? They could totally stand alone. If you wanted to do something where you're quilting it to death, which would be me, you could come in and do that teeny tiny sand scribble around it. So that's something that you could do as well. Let's see, what else? Let's look at in here. I'm thinking for these squares, it would look really kind of cool to just come in and do continuous curve in them. Depending upon what you do, if you're doing like the molar feather, you could also come in and do something like this. Again, these are mostly mid-custom ideas, right? Quilted to death might look just a tad bit different. So leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking as far as what you like, which ones you are thinking like, yeah, I think that looks good. Let's play around a little bit. Let's get rid of, it's not going to do it for me because there's hidden layers. So let's get rid of that layer. All right. Okay, so it doesn't want to let me do it. I'm not a professional with this Procreate just yet. So if you guys have questions, I'm definitely not the person to necessarily answer those questions. But yeah, so anyway, so that's kind of like if it were me, I would be leaning towards, you know me, I'm a feather girl, so I would probably do something with feathers, and whether it's a single one, right? And then feathers on the inside as well. Or this one here where there's no feathers on the inside. I'm definitely leaning towards that. Just depends on how big this space actually is. And then I do love the 3 little circles. Depending upon how big that space is, it might even be like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you're doing more, you want to make sure that they're odd, and I would want them to kind of the middle one be the biggest one going down in size. So those are kind of my ideas for this particular quilt. So yeah, so those are my ideas for that particular quilt. One of the things that I want to let you guys know with Design Decision Dilemma is that I actually give you the quilt to download it, so you yourself can actually download that, play around with it. You're going to hear me say it forever. Designing is a muscle that needs to be stretched, right? So I'm sitting here today because I've done thousands of customer quilts. There's no way in my lifetime I could have pieced together thousands of quilts. But I had the opportunity to quilt that many. And so I got good at designing. So even if you're looking at this quilt and saying, I'd never pieced that, right? To design for it still stretches those muscles. So as you're perusing Pinterest or the internet and you see quilts that are interesting to you, even though you might not make them, I would suggest you right click on it, you save it, print it off, and start kind of doodling on it and seeing kind of what designs you would put on them. Because again, it goes back to you guys have the knowledge. You can do flowers and feathers and ferns, and you can do ruler work and cross hatching and pebbling and all of that. But it's actually taking everything and bringing it all together and meshing it into a cohesive design for your quilt. So that's my jam. I love doing it. And I will be right back here next Monday doing it again. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to shoot me an email. You can get to it at my website, which is right down there, lisahkaye.com. And I'll see you guys next week.